Creativity is a whole brain activity, and coincidentally, so is well-being. Researchers have found that people report being happy and energized when they are engaged in everyday creative endeavors, and that being in a positive mood goes hand in hand with creative thinking. Let's have a look at how the neuroscience matches up with these self-reported experiences of creativity and well-being. Although reported associations between well-being and the brain varied, some notable patterns were evidenced in literature. In particular, the strongest, most consistent association emerged between well-being and the anterior cingulate cortex. In addition, patterns of association between well-being and the orbitofrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, superior temporal gyrus, and thalamus emerged. In layman terms, well-being is associated with several parts of the brain being active, and the following says the same about creativity. Real-life creativity appears to benefit from fluid somatic memory organization that allows various neural networks and brain regions to work in concert synergistically, including the default mode network, executive control network, Salience Network, and motor control networks, all of which work together in conjunction with brain regions that hold somatic and episodic memory. The overlaps in brain regions and networks involved in creativity and well-being is not well examined in mainstream psychology. However, this premise underpins empirical observations in art therapy, where it becomes clear they're deeply entwined processes. The very structures that allow us to solve problems, express ourselves, and imagine new possibilities also support emotional balance, resilience, and self-awareness. Let's refine this connection and bring it to life with some examples that show how these processes manifest in everyday life. In the description below, I'll leave links to open articles about these brain regions so you can check them out for yourselves and you don't have to just take my word for it. The Anterior Cingulate Cortex, or ACC. This part of the brain processes value-related information to regulate behavioral flexibility and persistence by signaling errors and rewards that guide decisions to switch or maintain behavior. In creativity, this helps direct cognitive conflicts, balance focus, and integrate emotions into decision-making processes. In well-being, it reduces anxiety, manages emotional responses, and adapts to change. Some examples are an artist who is struggling with a creative block. The ACC helps manage their frustration, nudging them to try a new approach or take a break. In a high-pressure work meeting, someone who feels overwhelmed but takes a deep breath, reassesses their emotions, and responds calmly instead of acting impulsively. Or a parent balancing work and home with their child's emotional needs draws on their ACC to stay calm, prioritize tasks, and respond with compassion, even during stressful moments. The key insights we can gather from these examples is that emotional flexibility and stress resilience are essential for both overcoming creative blocks and maintaining mental health. The orbitofrontal cortex, or OFC, plays a prominent role in signaling reward expectations, which have two key features: their value, so how good are they, and their identity. What are they? This is reflected in creativity when a person evaluates the emotional value of creative ideas and the rewards of risk-taking. Its role in well-being includes processing emotional rewards, maintaining stability, and nurturing positive social bonds. Some examples include a chef experimenting with flavors by combining sweet and savory ingredients to create a unique dish. The OFC in this instance evaluates the satisfaction derived from tasting the final creation. In a well-being context, someone may share a heartfelt compliment and feels a warm emotional reward from their friend's joyful reaction. An everyday example is choosing an outfit that feels good and expresses individuality, which brings a subtle sense of emotional satisfaction and confidence throughout the day. The key insight is whether someone is tasting success in a creative endeavor or savouring a joyful moment with others, as the OFC reinforces emotional satisfaction in both scenarios. The Posterior Cingulate Cortex, or the PCC. This is the key hub in the default mode network, which plays a role in internally directed cognition, attention, regulation, and balancing internal and external focus. It acts as a keyboard, tuning the brain's state of focus and arousal to support activities like introspection, memory recall, and external engagement. In creativity, this helps to retrieve memories, integrate past experiences, and fuel creative insights. In a well-being role, it helps to facilitate introspection and build emotional meaning. Some examples include things like a novelist writing a deeply emotional chapter who draws on memories of personal loss, using the PCC to weave authentic emotion into the story. Or during a mindfulness exercise, someone might reflect on past struggles and appreciates how they've grown, which fosters a sense of gratitude and self-awareness. Another example is a person who is organising family photos and feels waves of nostalgia, reminding them of their roots and their life journey, which strengthens their emotional foundation. A key insight here is that the PPC helps us turn past experiences into both creative works and personal insights that support emotional growth. The superior temporal gyrus, or the STG, is involved in auditory processing, including language, but has also been implicated as a critical structure in social cognition. In creativity, the STG processes auditory information, which contributes to storytelling and enhances communication. In well-being, it supports empathy, emotional tone recognition, and social bonding. Examples include a songwriter who is capturing the essence of heartbreak in lyrics and melody, using the STG to connect sound and emotional meaning. Or during a deep conversation, someone may notice the subtle shift in their friend's voice, realizing they might be hiding sadness and offer support. In an everyday example, someone humming their favourite song while cleaning may feel their mood shift as they're emotionally transported by the melody. The key insight is whether through music or meaningful conversations, the STG connects us deeply to others and to ourselves. The thalamus. Generally, the thalamus acts as a relay station, filtering information between the brain and the body. Every sensory system, except for the sense of smell, has a thalamatic nucleus, which receives, processes, and sends information to an associated cortical area. In creativity, this acts as a sensory relay station, integrating sights, sounds, emotions for creative insight. In well-being, it regulates alertness, emotional stability, and restful sleep cycles. Examples of this are a photographer in a bustling marketplace absorbs vibrant colours, laughter, and the golden light of the sunset, using the thalamus to blend these sensory inputs into a single evocative image. Or a person struggling with insomnia might improve their sleep hygiene by allowing the thalamus to regulate their sleep cycles, which improves their overall mood and focus. Another example is someone sitting in a quiet park. You might focus on the chirping birds and the breeze, feeling a sense of calm as their thalamus filters and integrates these sensory experiences. The key insight is that the thalamus ensures sensory harmony, which is essential for both creative clarity and well-being. Now that we've looked at some of the specific brain regions and how they both relate to creativity and well-being, let's have a look at some of the broader neurological networks and how their integration presents in action. First up, the default mode network, or the DMN. Increased activity in this part of the brain occurs during internally directed attention, such as memory retrieval and planning. While efficient cognitive function relies on the dynamic regulation of the PCC activity, failures in deactivation are linked to cognitive inefficiency. In creativity, the DMN activity is reflected in daydreaming, self-reflection, and generating creative ideas. In well-being, it contributes to a coherent sense of self, processing emotions, and finding one's personal life narrative. Some examples are a painter who zones out while daydreaming and suddenly envisions the next great masterpiece that they're going to make. In well-being, it could be someone who goes for a quiet walk in nature and reflects on their life and feels a deep sense of peace and purpose. The overlap insight here is that both creative expression and emotional self-awareness rely on reflective processes supported by the DMN, the Central Executive Network, or CEN. The Central Executive Network is a dominant brain network responsible for high-level cognitive tasks and decision-making, often working in coordination or opposition with other brain networks. In creativity, this brain region is used to focus attention on complex creative tasks. And in well-being, it manages stress, emotional resilience, and cognitive flexibility. Examples would be an architect working on a detailed blueprint who uses their CEN to stay focused on precision. Or a student might be managing their exam stress by breaking down tasks into smaller, achievable goals. The overlapping insight is that the CEN builds the perseverance needed for both creative breakthroughs and emotional stability. The Salience Network, or SN. This acts as the brain's moderator, monitoring the external world and managing how brain networks respond to stimuli. This includes switching between the internally focused default mode network and the externally focused central executive network. In creativity, this translates to identifying important insights and moments of inspiration. In well-being, it detects emotional needs, manages stress signals, and maintains emotional balance. Examples include a stand-up comedian who senses the perfect moment to deliver a punchline, relying on the SN for timing and intuition. Or someone feeling emotionally drained may sense their need for rest and self-care. The overlap is that emotional sensitivity fuels both creative inspiration and emotional intelligence. Next, we have the motor control networks. Motor control involves complex behaviours essential for daily activities, with recent research focusing on modular systems and the interactions between neurons, muscles, and brain network. In creativity, this enables embodied activities such as dance or painting or pretty much any activity that requires physical movement. In wellbeing, it supports physical relaxation, coordination, and emotional release. Examples include a sculptor who works with clay using their hands to bring a vision to life, or a person who unwinds through yoga, feeling emotional and physical release with each movement. The overlapping insight is that physical acts of creativity, like dance or even gardening or sculpting, offer a powerful emotional release and stress relief. The big picture we can get from looking at creativity and well-being is that they operate like a feedback loop. Creativity fuels well-being. That is, when we create, whether it be writing, painting, cooking, or any other sort of problem-solving activity, we activate brain regions tied to emotional satisfaction and stress relief. Conversely, well-being fuels creativity by fostering emotional stability, meaningful connections, and a clear sense of self that creates just the right conditions for creative flow. The real-world takeaway is that creativity does not have to look grand. Even the simplest acts like experimenting with a recipe, journaling your own thoughts, or even just rearranging your living space can help activate these brain regions. These small creative acts engage the same brain regions that support emotional health and overall well-being. It's also really important to consider the cost of suppressing creativity, which can happen in abuse situations, such as the use of coercive control in cultic situations, which are the main themes of this YouTube channel. Which reminds me, please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to know more about these topics. Stress and fear are the two biggest factors in suppressing creativity and well-being. This happens because the amygdala gets activated, which leads to issues with the hippocampus, which is the region of the brain that is responsible for memory formation and memory retrieval. Fear and stress also reduce the capacity of the central executive network. And so when people are stressed or fearful, they literally can't think properly because the brain is not working the way it should be. This shutting down of whole brain activity prevents the openness required for creative thought and well-being. In a similar vein, coercive control and indoctrination processes in cults that imprint rigid schemas block flexibility and innovative thinking. Overall, there is a loss of autonomy, as seen in cult-like systems that reduce people to just being these unthinking clogs, stripped away of their individuality and creative expression. This has very real impacts on the psychological well-being of people who are caught up in destructive groups. We are wired to create, and this creativity is not just a bonus. The evidence points to the direction of it being essential for our well-being. To honour our creative impulse is to honour our humanity. And it's for these reasons that I perceive the meaning of life, the universe, and everything through a paradigm of the power of creativity. In future videos, I'm going to be giving a bit more of an overview of how this paradigm works philosophically, scientifically, and I'll even have a little look at how it works in a spiritual manner. As a quick note, I'd also just like to say that it appears to me that there is a significant amount of misunderstanding about creativity in some pockets of Western society. Anyone who's watched my previous videos will know that I'm not afraid to directly debunk myths like the theory of right brain, left brain being a dichotomy of creative versus logic thinking processes. Hopefully in this video I've shown that it is definitely a whole brain process. I also would like to debunk the idea that creativity is a mystical experience that stems from an invisible realm of archetypes. While there is a lot we don't know about the brain, the evidence from empirical studies is clearly pointing in the direction of indicating that creativity is a fundamental component of well-being. My understanding of the importance of creativity is based upon 25 years of being a secondary school teacher, most of which has been in the field of the visual arts and art history. I'm also a mental health practitioner with a master's degree in mental health specialising in art therapy from the University of Queensland. Additionally, I've also studied psychology at the University of Melbourne. If you want to know more about my background, then check out the video titled All About Me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where I talk about the metaphor I like to use to explain the creative process of the brain as being like a mega art studio. Bye for now.